Today, let's dive deep into the mind and heart of someone who, no matter how hard they try, can't erase you from their life. Have you ever wondered why this person struggles so much to forget, but always ends up back at the same point? Or why the memories are like a constant echo that doesn't fade away, no matter how many days, weeks, or even months pass? It's common for someone to struggle to erase someone from their thoughts, but when it becomes a constant battle, it's because there is something bigger at play. This type of connection, where the other person can't forget you, speaks volumes about the deep emotional impact you have caused. It's not just longing, it's something that penetrates and touches the soul, leaving a mark that endures. And no matter how much this person tries to move on, there will always be something that brings them back. It could be a word, a place, a moment, and before they realize it, there you are again, as if you never left. This, not being able to forget, is not simply resistance to time. It's the persistence of a presence that still pulses, a connection that was never truly broken. The truth is that when someone leaves such a mark, it carries something deeper, perhaps a feeling of shared purpose or the certainty that, in some way, this story had a meaning that was interrupted before its conclusion. The mind may try to deny it, and pride may interfere, but the heart has a unique power to remember what truly matters. And in this case, you matter. Imagine this person trying to divert their thoughts, keeping themselves busy with routines, new encounters, or momentary distractions. But nothing can fill that void left behind. Because when a true connection is interrupted, it transforms into a kind of living memory, reviving feelings with the same intensity as when everything began. This resistance to forgetting is not a lack of strength but a sort of calling, a reminder that something is still unresolved. Now think, why does this person still cling to you as if there's something yet to be lived, understood, or forgiven? This inability to forget has its roots in emotions that withstand time. And no matter how much everything points to leaving it behind, there is something that still remains and insists, because deep down, what matters is not how much we try to move on, but how much of ourselves we leave along the way. When someone tries to forget but finds themselves enveloped in memories and emotions that insist on returning, it means there was a genuine surrender and often a connection that transcended what is visible and tangible. This person who is trying to forget you is not just facing the absence. They are dealing with a void that memories cannot fill. And the more they try to resist, the more the memory of you intensifies, as if their own heart is fighting to keep alive a story that, in some way, still echoes. This is not about attachment or an unfounded persistence. It is about a deep emotional connection that transcends time and circumstances. This person, in their silence and attempts to distract the mind, is facing an internal whirlwind. And perhaps they don't even know exactly why this struggle is so arduous, why forgetting seems to be an impossible task. But the truth is that when someone touches us with such a profound truth, that presence remains, even in absence. You became part of the unfulfilled dreams, the plans suspended in time, the words that perhaps were never said but left a weight. Imagine this person trying to convince themselves day after day that it is possible to move on, that it's long past time to turn the page. However, all they manage to do is feel your presence more deeply, like an invisible mark, but impossible to ignore. And no matter how much they question, try to rationalize, it's something that can't be explained. Emotions take over, reminding that some connections are simply different, unique, and perhaps destined to leave a lasting mark. And do you know why this happens? Because this is not just any experience, but something that left an impression on the soul. To this person, you were not just someone else in life. You were someone who made a difference, who brought a feeling of truth, belonging, intensity. These memories are deeply rooted in moments that transcended the ordinary and therefore became unforgettable. The attempts to move forward are like battles against one's own heart, which knows that some stories don't end with a simple goodbye. So, you are not just in this person's memories. You are in every hope they still nurture of one day finding something that can replace what was experienced by your side. But deep down, they know it won't be possible. Because the impact of an authentic and deep connection is something that time does not erase. It's a bond that withstands everything, a type of connection that one encounters only once in a lifetime. And for that reason, the difficulty of forgetting is not about weakness or attachment, but about recognizing that something of immense value was lost. Now, ask yourself, is this person struggling to forget you because somehow they feel that there is still something to be experienced between you? Could there be a link that, despite the distance, remains present, insisting as if waiting for the right moment to manifest itself again? This person might find themselves in a kind of internal conflict, where reason insists it is time to move on, but the heart clings to something that cannot be ignored. Because no matter how much they try to convince themselves that everything was a closed chapter, there is a persistent feeling that what was lived was too real, too deep to simply disappear. Perhaps they remember the way you made them feel seen, understood, connected in a rare way which is not easily found in any relationship. And that feeling, once experienced, leaves marks that are hard to erase. Each of us carries a list of stories we would like to keep in a corner of our hearts and move on. But some of these stories simply refuse to stay quiet. They insist on returning, reminding us that certain moments were not just experiences, they were transformations. This person, struggling to forget you, is not just trying to erase a face or a name. They are fighting against the impact of a change that you caused in them, an awakening to a kind of love or understanding that left a lasting impression. Life has a unique way of reminding us of what truly matters, and what remains are always the feelings, not the details. This memory of you, which this person tries to ignore, is the reflection of something experienced authentically. It's not a matter of fleeting nostalgia. It's the echo of a connection that transformed. And you know what's curious? Even if we try to ignore these memories, on some level our soul always keeps these moments as precious treasures, memories that carry a meaning beyond words. Maybe you have wondered if this person still thinks about you. Maybe, at some point, you felt an inexplicable energy, a sudden thought that made you remember them. Because these connections, even distant, have a way of manifesting themselves. The truth is, when two people share something that touches the heart so deeply, it's not easy for either of them to simply move on as if nothing happened. There is a silent wisdom that reminds us that certain connections were made to teach, to mark, to awaken something in us that, even after a long time, remains alive. And then, what does this person still feel, even when time and distance try to erase the memories? Is there a possibility of something yet to be lived, a path that somehow is still waiting to open? This struggle to forget you might actually be a way of denying a feeling that insists on remaining, a desire that maybe, one day, fate will bring you face to face once more. When someone struggles to forget you and can't, even with all the forces of reason and time, it's because the soul still finds something there that needs to be resolved, understood, or perhaps lived again. It's as if a part of this person is still hoping that somehow your paths will cross once again. Imagine the silent nights, when the distractions of the day cease and the mind finds itself without barriers, free to revisit those memories that were never completely erased. In these moments, unhurried and unmasked, this person may see themselves transported back to those days with you, reliving sensations, conversations, glances. The absence, which becomes so evident in these moments of silence, brings an awareness that certain feelings do not dissolve with time. On the contrary, they settle, take root, transforming into something that is part of who we are. And when these memories return, it's not just nostalgia. It is a way for the heart to try to say something, to remember that there was something authentic. No one remains in our minds for so long without reason. This connection, even if interrupted, carries the strength of an energy that transcends the common experience. It becomes a kind of learning, a truth that defies time, a kind of invisible presence that continues to manifest. And for someone who tries to forget you, this process is like a call, a reminder that what was lived was special, and perhaps still carries something to be unveiled. Sometimes people try to erase memories because they fear what they represent, an emotional truth that may be painful to revisit, a longing that seems endless, or the recognition that what they felt was real and intense. And that fear is understandable. Because for someone who carries a strong memory of you, Remembering also means realizing what was left unfinished, the dreams that were not realized, the words that remained trapped in the chest. And that pain, that sensation of something left behind, often makes that person prefer to flee, avoid, deny. But the more we try to escape from what is true, the more that truth follows us, subtle and insistent. Memories are persistent companions, and when someone tries to forget you without success, it's because those memories are not willing to leave. They carry a message, a purpose. For that person, forgetting doesn't just mean leaving you behind, but it would be like erasing a part of themselves that has been transformed and that, even in the face of silence, still misses you. The question that remains is, what does that person really feel? Is it regret? A deep longing for something that still pulses within them? Or maybe the feeling that there was a disconnection in time, but not in essence? And amid these feelings, they continue to struggle to let you go, but never really succeed. It seems there is something that this person still hasn't found, an answer, an understanding, or a true end to what they lived with you. And that's why, despite the attempts to move forward, there is a part of them that still holds tight to the memory of what you shared, as if something was saying that this story somehow hasn't really reached its end. So we arrive at the crucial point of this reflection on the internal struggle of someone who tries at all costs to forget you but cannot. There is an invisible force, something that remains and resists, a kind of mark on the soul that, no matter how much time passes and circumstances change, continues to pulse silently. This struggle to erase you from memory is like trying to erase a fragment of themselves, an attempt to silence a truth that resists, that whispers that you are much more than a mere passage, that touched deeply, that left a mark impossible to ignore. When a connection like this doesn't dissolve, it's because it carries a greater purpose. It's not simply about longing or attachment. It's the impact of an experience that touched deeply, perhaps more than anyone could predict. That person who tries day after day to forget you probably feels that your bond was unique, that it brought something transformative and real. Even if they try to convince themselves otherwise, deep down they know that certain memories, certain moments, remain eternally engraved and cannot be simply erased as if they were lines on a piece of paper. In moments of silence, away from distractions, that's when the memories become more intense. The absence reveals the depth of this void, and each detail of the past seems to bring forth a new understanding, a reflection on what it meant, on what it can still mean. It's as if life offers an invisible mirror where, upon looking, they don't just see you, but a part of themselves that changed, that matured, that was touched by this experience. And this type of emotional mark is rare, it's deep, and that's why the attempts to move forward often stumble upon the persistence of a feeling that doesn't dissolve. So why does this person keep struggling to forget? Because to them, you represent a real and intense experience, something not easily found. It's the memory of a connection that brought teachings, that brought intensity and presence. It's the echo of a truth that they can't simply erase because deep down they know it was special. They feel, even if they try to deny it, that what existed was unique, true, and that it left a lesson, a transformation that no other encounter can replace. It is possible that this struggle to forget you is deep down a struggle against herself, against the desire to remember, to relive, to find, in some way, peace with that past. What prevents her from forgetting might be the certainty, even if silent, that the connection between you two carries something unfinished, something that still pulses and desires answers, an understanding, perhaps even a second chance. Because some stories, even if interrupted, leave doors open, a silent invitation to one day perhaps be resumed. Now, I want to invite you to deeply reflect on this. Is there someone who remains in your heart? Someone whom, no matter how much time passes, you simply cannot forget? Have you ever found yourself in that position of trying to move forward, but something always makes you look back? Share in the comments. This is a space where your story matters, where your emotions have a voice. And if you felt that this content brought something valuable, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving reflections and content that touches the soul. Don't forget to leave your like to support our work and ensure that this message reaches more people. Also, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, someone who might be going through that same process of trying to forget, but deep down still keeps a living flame in their heart. How about forming a community where we can explore these deep connections together, these feelings that shape us and make us who we are? Let's walk side by side on this journey of self-discovery, of reflections, of understanding the bonds that really matter, and that even in silence, continue to transform us.